Hello friends, good evening. And it's a Saturday evening and I'm taking your time to really have an interesting chat today. We're going to be talking about sustainable luxury. We're going to be talking about what is the future of lifestyle going to look like. Are we still going to dress up in the same way, wearing jewelry, or the jewelry market is going to change? What is body adornment going to look like? And is there going to be more affordable jewelry, or are people still going to be loving the same old precious diamonds and the gemstones and the beautiful thing that comes from Jaipur city? And as we all know that we are in the most beautiful part of the world, in the World Craft Heritage City, Jaipur, and the beautiful Pink City. And we all know that the most precious jewels from Jaipur goes across the world. You name about all the big brands, they source all their beautiful stuff from our amazing jewelers who are here in the city, who've been there for generations. And I think people from across the globe, the royalty, the people, the traders, the merchants, they all came to this beautiful land to actually, get all their precious gems. And as we've seen over a period of time that Kundan Meena jewelry, which is very peculiar, very beautiful, really, truly artistic, it's found its place in the most important spaces, right from Middle East to the Hollywood movies. So we have an exciting conversation that we're going to be taking on today. And we have, Katerina Perez, who is a journalist, and she's a lifestyle blogger, and she's a celebrity blogger, and she's been at a very young age. She started at the age of 3 where she got interested in jewelry. And she's going to be soon joining us. She's running, because she's got back-to-back arrangements. So she'll be joining in another 2 minutes or so with us. Meanwhile, we can keep chatting. And as you know, this conversation is brought to you by Arch College of Design and Business. And you know why? Because it's very close to my heart. When I moved into the city in 1995, I had actually learned fashion. I loved clothes. I was very fond of textiles. And when I moved into the city, got married here, and I realized that the city had some amazing, all this heritage was there, all the gemstones were there, people were exporting, silver jewelry was getting exported. I said, how are people designing? And I somehow realized that everybody was getting orders coming from the Western world, and they would, as per their specifications, make it for them and export it back. And our traditional jewelry looked very much the same. And I said, man, where is design here? Where are the young people who've got the new sensibilities? Where are they? And I really felt the need that the city needed a course in jewelry. And in the year 1997, I initiated and I took the courage of starting a course, a 3-month course. And what success I got. And I had a batch of 12 people. They are all, leading jewelers. They're one of the best. And that's how the journey started. And over the years, while it started with a 3-month course and then translated, now it's a 4-year degree that we are imparting. And the jewelry business, definitely we've seen it go through ups and downs. While the major recession happened a couple of years back, we all know about it. So, because it's a part of our luxury, it's a lifestyle. But Indians have a great knack for jewelry. I mean, despite whatever happens, the investment in jewelry just does not ever go down. And nor it will ever. Because there's a huge amount of social security and the love and the passion that a woman actually, the way she connects with jewelry. And I realized that, the 3-month course translated into a 6-month and then a 1 year. And I saw the industry getting interested. Oh, they said, who's this woman who's come from Delhi and who started this course? And they started participation with me. They started giving me contribution. They started giving the ideas. And I saw that the course started getting attraction from all over the country. And we started getting young people who got interested. And I remember starting a 3-year course in the year 2003. And we just had 3 days back, we had an alumni chat and I had all these amazing people. And ever since 2009, we've got all these people working in all the big brands across the country. You talk about Aura Diamonds, you talk about Amrapali, you talk about Symmetry, you talk about any name, from Mumbai. And it's been such an interesting to hear their journey. And I really feel proud that, Arch has got a significant contribution to how the jewelry industry is shaped up here in Jaipur, and how our students have been able to actually contribute to the market, the international market, the global needs. So our students have been going to exchanges. They just recently went to Paris at Ecole Boulle, which is the premier year in Europe. And it's a 100-year-old institution, and we get there, the Parisians, students coming over to Jaipur as well. So it's a great, collaboration that we've seen. We've just signed a MOU with Nova Scotia School of Design that's based in Halifax in Canada, and also with Birmingham City University. So these are the kind of things that, the jewelry department has really grown over the years. And we're so proud of our alumni. And I think if we do get an opportunity, we'll be definitely showcasing them now over some chats, Insta chats. You'll get an opportunity where I really thought, the students who are studying jewelry need to chat with the people who've passed out way back in 2001, 2003, where they've got all these national and international awards that they've been winning. So I think it's the best thing is, now it's the time with the COVID time, it's all about the we. There's no space for the I. So I think the more and more collaborative we are, the better we are in terms of how we're going to, engage with each other, how we're going to co-create with each other, and find people with different skills and strengths, and how we can actually go ahead to, create the new business ideas. So incidentally, Katerina has been a favorite for Jaipur as well. A couple of years back, she was invited for a celebrity event here. The jewelers community had organized, and that's why she chose to come to Arch College. And that's where we developed a rapport with her. And today she's here with us on Insta. So I'm still waiting for her to join. And I hope that, okay. So I have started getting some questions already coming over. So I'm going to just try and see that these questions are somehow hidden, because it's going to come directly onto the face of Katerina, and that's what I'm not wanting. So anybody who knows what's the option to get this, the messages not coming on the face? Katerina Perez here, who's just going to be joining us. Yeah. Hi,
hello,
Katerina.
hello.
Oh, lovely. So
nice to see you.
Yep. And I've been talking a lot about you, waiting for you to join us. And I think everybody is excited to hear you today. And we've been seeing your beautiful photographs and the beautiful jewelry that you've been showcasing on Insta. And I think people really wanted to see, what this photograph and the real Katerina looks like. Yeah. So I
am real. Believe it or not.
So I just told them that, your passion actually started at the age of 3. With your
yes.
parents coming from an artistic background. And so I'd just like to ask you a couple of questions here, that you've been a journalist, you've been an editor-in-chief, and now that you are on the social media, such a favorite. So where has this journey started and how you've taken it forward?
So if we talk about jewelry, my experience in the jewelry world spans around 12 to 13 years. And my background is in fact in retail. So I used to be a manager and a salesperson in various boutiques in London. It's Bond Street. So it's one of the main streets for shopping where all the big jewelers are. And I remember that I had clients who would say, okay, so how many carats is this diamonds in this ring? And what's the price? And there was nothing else. Like, people didn't ask how much goes into creating something like this, all the craftsmanship and techniques, and all the other things that affect the price. Because let's face it, it's not just about carat weight of stones or gold and the final price. Sometimes to develop an idea, it can take months, if not a year. And sometimes there is a craftsmanship which also takes a long time, and hands of many jewelers, right? And of course, all this should be taken into consideration. So this is how I thought, okay, I really want to educate and talk about jewelry and explain how things really are, so that I have people who understand, for example, why the price for a solitaire ring might equal a price for a ring with pave diamonds. Because, you know, working to pave is much more than setting one stone. You know, these kind of things. And of course, when I started, actually, I'm celebrating 7 years this month of my website.
Congratulations.
Thank
so
you.
What I hear is that, you know, you felt that the craftsmanship and the effort that goes behind making a piece of jewelry is the value and not about just the price. So, and that is what inspired you to actually educate people.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And I think that's very profound, because it's all about how a jewelry piece can touch people's lives. And that's the value that it brings to people. And when you say something like this, it's just occurring to me that it can just, when people talk about recession and things, it can never fade them, because
Exactly.
it has a very deep connect. So you've been, I remember when we were talking about it, we were talking about, you know, how to be really different, while we're talking about what really takes to be different.
Well, first of all, I always say what's most important for every jeweler or brand is, I call it, to have their own DNA. Okay, so they need to understand what's so different about them, rather than other jewelers out there. For example, when I was not even in jewelry business and I knew not much about jewelry at all, I was getting engaged. And the first thing I thought of, without even realizing, is Tiffany. Why? Because every girl wants to have that blue box. So from that time, it's really implanted in my mind that when you stand out for a certain thing, people will always associate you with that. And if, for example, someone wants an engagement ring, they go to Tiffany, because everyone knows Tiffany for the engagement. If someone wants to have a love bangle, they go to Cartier. So it's essential for a jeweler or a brand to have some line that they will continue and that will map them, you know, in the world of jewelry. Or if they don't create collections, because there are many private jewelers or artistic jewelers who would only do one-of-a-kind pieces, maybe to have a certain style or some kind of signature of theirs, that when people see a piece of jewelry, they instantly recognize it. You know, it's very important to have something special about you.
So very well said, Katrina. And this is an understood fact and a norm when we talk about the creative industries and people with brands. Today, in the time of COVID, now there are a lot of young people, right, who were chosen to now start their own enterprise. I understand when it comes to DNA, you're right about it. Each one of us is very special and we have our own footprint. But why is it that people tend to follow a particular style or something which is probably they find as an inspiration, or something that really is sellable and has a market space already, rather than understanding what truly DNA would mean?
Because I think if you see that someone sells, you automatically assume, if they sell, I can do it as well. So I guess this is why there is so many designs which look similar, or which are very simplistic, which do not show designer's personality, right? Because you try to, instead of trying to show your personality and find clients who will like your designs for what they are, many choose a different route of trying to create something that pleases the audience, okay, rather than creating something that is true to yourself. And okay, sometimes it works, but in reality, if we look what's happening now, if you're one of many jewelers who create pretty much the same, it's going to be very difficult to survive. But if you have something different about you, then you're going to have your loyal clientele. Okay, there might be not so many people, but at least I believe it's better to have quality than quantity. It's better to have a smaller group of clients who will love you and collect your pieces, meaning they will come back to buy from you and again, your new collection, ring matching earrings, and so on and so forth, rather than trying to please everyone out there and expect to have this walk-in sale or, a request from time to time. And then people will leave and they'll never come back because there's tons of other jewelers who are similar to yourself. So I guess there is a misconception that, okay, if Cartier sells La Love bangles so well, if we do something similar, we'll do great.
So what I understand that you're saying, it's the fear of failure, of not making enough money or being a conformist is something that's not allowing people to be innovative or maybe challenging or even looking at their own DNA. And I think that's a great insight that you've given, because there are a lot of young people and now it's a time of disruption and truly disruptive where I think all past norms can be challenged. So I think it's a great opportunity for young people now because they can completely redefine what the new age generation would look like, the kind of jewelry they would wear at. So I have a question that young people who are graduating from jewelry design as a career pathway, or there are a lot of people who work with the industry or are looking at starting their enterprise. So what is that you would like to let them know in terms of the kind of competency they need to look at if they really want to make a good brand in terms of, and what kind of time does it take to create a brand of that sort?
I think if we're talking about graduates in Indian market, I think what's going to work more now because the tastes of people are changing. And maybe instead of gravitating towards traditional designs, which will always be demand, but at the same time, there are so many other jewelers who already create traditional, to create a blend of West, plus Indian aesthetics to create something new and different and interesting. Some jewelers do that already, but very, very few. I guess, to find also your own signature, your own style. And, fear is fear is something that stops many of us to do great things, okay? Because if I was scared of doing many things, I wouldn't be here. Just because I took many risks, it allowed me to grow and progress and learn on the way as well. And of course, I had failures on the way, but I'll never forget this when I met Wallace Chan a few months ago at an exhibition. He was saying that, okay, failure is not the end of the process. Failure is the part of the process, which is true. If you fail at something, doesn't mean you have to stop. You just need to try again, and eventually you'll probably, find the way to do what you want. And if you don't, okay, change the direction. And also, you see, I think we have to be realistic here. When you leave college, you have to be ready to sacrifice a lot, your time, maybe some investments if you want to build a brand. So it's never easy. You have to be ready for hard times, I guess, but persevere.
I think you very well put how failure is. So today, the whole world is exposed to a failure which they never thought of, right? So
Exactly.
I think because we were getting to become more of conformist, I think, it's a big plan to put us all into the space of innovation to fight our failures. So interesting, very interesting. And I think how things are falling together while we've been, you just said that, you are here talking to us because you fought your failures, right? And you actually challenged yourself. So I think that's a very profound thought. But I have been hearing from a lot of, jewelers here in India, and they've been saying, young people in India have a very different design sensibility, and that's not much relevant to the Western world. What do you have to say about it? Because while I have traveled so much across the globe, and I see the sensibilities that come from India is seen in most of the precious and the beautiful jewels. So and it's very important that your words would really encourage a lot of people to really understand what it would mean. Yeah,
I think what we'll be talking right now is also I just wanted to add a little bit to the previous question because it's important to understand who your potential client is, what's your market. So if we talk about now people who are going to create jewelry for Indian market, you can explore all different creative directions, right? Because the traditional styles will always be there because it's a part of the culture. But at the same time, you guys are super privileged. You need to understand that, okay? You have wonderful craftsmanship, okay? So many different factories which are good. You have amazing gemstones. The whole world goes to Jaipur and to India to buy gems, to buy diamonds. You have all the tools. I think the one thing that can even take you further on the map, not just in India, but worldwide, okay, is the creativity, is self-expression. And you know, if someone needs to find that creative streak or direction, they shouldn't look at other jewelry. Okay, I think the best would come from architecture, art, walking around, seeing nature, travel. Travel is so important. You know, now you mentioned about European designers, like look at Boucheron, okay, when they created the collection dedicated to India, Bleu de Jaipur. I felt it was so amazing because it blends the design aesthetics of the renowned house and the culture of India, and actually they made it so beautifully, and they were very accurate in the depicting different design elements, you know, which did make everyone who saw that collection feel like, wow, this is a beautiful tribute to India. So I guess maybe it could also be done the other way around. So if Indian jewelers would explore a bit more cultures of other people, you know, look at costumes, national costumes of different countries. Look at fabrics. You know, I'm just reading, actually, I think lots of people who watch, they're already aware of this book. I'm reading this book, The Cartiers, from Francesca Cartier-Brecel, about how the company, Cartier company, started and how it grew and where it got at a certain point of time. And it's not just a book, it's like a case study. So I think for every new designer, like it's a must read for sure, because it's not just about, oh, Cartier is a great brand. There's so many facts which are so useful. And the pages I turn, I'm like, how did Cartier know this at that time? How did they do all of this right? So this would be my little advice. Read that book because you'll learn so much.
Lovely. I think, you know, you talking about travel. So what gets me very close to understanding is that techniques need to be local, but aesthetics need to be global.
Exactly.
And travel is what allows you and develop your aesthetics. And to understand aesthetics is a great art. And I think knowing technique is not enough. And if one has to continuously evolve, I think what you really said that, you know, travel is what probably makes people more receptive, you know, resilient, adaptive to understanding different cultures. And I think that's when we try and embed it inside the product, it probably gives it the character and the DNA that it requires. So interestingly, if you you've been going as a jury member, and I just saw that you know, you were a jury member at the Las Vegas couture show, and when you are sitting in as a jury member on such elite forums, what is that they really see in a design?
You see, the thing about, I think it was a few years now that I was a judge, but what I liked about the show and the awards and the competition is that there are people from different industries. And it was quite interesting to see the view of what a jewelry designer has, what a fellow jewelry journalist has, the way I see it, and this is how the decisions were made. But I guess there was always the idea to find something extraordinary, something different, something that will stand out among the rest of jewels. You know, at couture show, you see so much. So of course, you always look for something different. And you know, just to come back to, again, sorry, to the previous question about traveling, we have to remember that designers are, I'm talking about designers, not the jewelers, not the ones who manufacture or do something by hand, but the ones who are creative directors or think of ideas. Creative people can't sit in the office and squeeze something out of them. The reason why I said traveling, because the best ideas come when your mind is free, when you get exposed to a completely different environment, when your emotions run high, when you are excited or you're curious, or because jewelry is emotions as well, and you need to translate that in a piece of jewelry. And very often you can see such and such design, and you could feel what the jeweler felt at that moment, and this is extraordinary. And when a person buys the jewel, they don't always buy it just because there is a big gemstone there, or because it's a flower and like flower theme, because of the way it speaks to them. You know, jewelry, there is a huge emotional aspect to jewelry. So that's why I encourage designers, you know, not just to sit at their desk, but also give themselves time to experience emotions.
Thank you so much, because this is so much to what I just experienced a couple of days back. So Cumulus is a forum of around 250 plus member institutions in art, design, media, and architecture. And they actually opened up a competition which Ecole Boule and all these people did with the committee called Bert from Paris. And
Okay.
there were all these, all the French luxury brands, they got together and floated this competition. So even art stood, number 3. And they asked that what would French luxury be in 2070? And the
2070.
Yes, that was the competition.
Okay.
And it all came and it boiled down to that it was that emotions are going to be luxury. And when you just talked about jewelry and the emotional connect it has, everything just got a life for me, and probably body adornment, how would it be really looked at? And I think there's a great new opportunity when we talk about feelings missing from life itself. But I think the COVID is going to change a lot of things for us. Probably they had not envisaged, where young people had not even thought of. So I think the COVID is definitely going to change a lot of mindsets are going to alter. So what do you see a significant difference that one would see in the jewelry industry after the COVID times, in the new normal?
I wish I had my crystal ball, to give you the right answer.
That's a nice one.
But right now we are facing the time where it's the survival of the strongest. So this is what I was saying. If you're one of many, it will be very hard. There will be too much competition. If you are different, but you are staying, maybe more niche designer with their own DNA, which people will connect to, and they will want to come back to you again and again. That could be an option. Another option is, I know that some, for example, in the high jewelry sector, maybe jewelers try to go a little bit, not mainstream, but they create accessible collections, or they focus more on jewelry, which is for everyday wear. So this is another option. Also, the main thing right now is to master a new way of communicating with clients. Okay, it's not just about I don't think it's about changing your style and suddenly creating cheaper versions of jewelry. Or the key thing now is to learn the new communication, which is the communication when the client is not there. And there is certain psychology behind it as well. So it's not like you just send a WhatsApp and suddenly they like the pretty picture and they want to buy it. No, there's lots of different tricks. In fact, I'm preparing a little course now because I teach sometimes also different aspects. And for me, this is what I'm researching on, like how to influence purchase through non-personal touch points, when you don't see that person in reality. So, because this is what I do, right? Let's face it, suddenly every brand, every person and every brand is like a jewelry blogger now, because they have to photograph the jewelry, send to their clients. I was thinking about it the other day, but this is true. Now you all guys have to master my work, because this is the future, at least for the next, who knows how long, half a year, unless the cure is found, or how do you call it, not the cure, but the injection, or whatever the name is.
So it's very, because I see a lot of young bloggers, they just feel that they can put on anything and they can talk about jewelry. And I just feel that it's not doing justice to the trade. And it's not doing really justice to the trade. Whereas people like you who are doing deep research, doing workshops, doing seminars to make sure that the market intelligence is actually researched, and there's a whole new way of actually addressing even on the social media. So what would be your, suggestions to these young bloggers who are actually venturing into this field to understand that what it really takes to do justice to a piece of jewelry?
It's like it deserves a separate session. There is a lot
in a nutshell.
But in a nutshell, it's very important to find your own voice, to understand what it is about you that makes you stand out. For example, for me, when I started, do you think I knew what I was doing or where I want to be? Hell no. I was like, okay, I love jewelry. I'm going to just follow my instincts and follow my heart. And slowly, I started understanding, okay, I gravitate more towards design. I love design. For me, it's so interesting to understand the designer, their vision, their personality through jewels that they create, or even discover cultures of different countries through jewelry. Because come on, we can trace jewelry back hundreds of years, and it's a way to understand culture, world, everything around. Okay, so finding your own voice, understanding what niche you want to take in jewelry. I am super selective, I'm all about high-end. My vision on jewelry is a form of art, so I focus only on certain type of jewelry. then it's just a misconception that it can be easy, you know, being a blogger. Well, you just take a picture and you post it. In reality, you really need to understand jewelry. How is one ring better than the other? What about gemstones? You know, what gemstone is a great emerald, which one's not? What are the trends in jewelry? Why people prefer in Middle East certain style, in Russia another style? There is so much to learn. I learn every day. I've been in this business for what, 12 years. I learn every day still, and this is like the best. But also, we need to understand that blogging is not just about creating content, writing, you know, photographing. It's also, you have to be an entrepreneur. I had to learn so much, you know. I don't learn just about how to master Instagram or how to do good writing. I learn a lot about how to be inventive, how to develop skills of running a business. I have a team. I have to learn how to delegate well, how to manage my time, how to build operations correctly so things run smoothly, because I travel tons of time. So I need to make sure my team is on the ball when I'm not there. So there is so many aspects, and blogging is super hard. You know, if you're a young blogger, or it also can be applied to young designer. You know, I think it will be the same for young designer who wants to grow and to be recognized. It's all about not just designing, but also, you know, production, managing time, how to, even when people come to me for consultancy and they're designers, they're like, how do we do it? We need to create design. We need to make by hand some of them. We need to put it on Instagram, this and that. This is insane, you know. So there is a lot. You just need to be ready to sacrifice. In the beginning, I did of course, you do work for free in the beginning. For 2 years I was working somewhere else to feed my passion and to develop my blog. I invested tons of time. Honestly, I'm not exaggerating. I would work 6 days a week, 12 hours, okay, standard. But not just because I had to, okay? I'm addicted to my website, to Instagram, to my audience. This is a real, this is my life, okay? Doesn't mean that I neglect my family, but this is what I'm about. You know, I love jewelry genuinely, and it's not about being a blogger. It's about sharing this passion with the world around me. So step by step, it will grow. I just find that sometimes, I think especially now, not just necessarily bloggers, but startups, okay? They want to achieve something fast, okay? But I don't believe in fast result. And if there is fast result, it's so hard to maintain, because it's easy to get somewhere, but how do you maintain that level of work, that pace of work? How do you carry on growing, right? I was developing step by step. I think it took me 3 years. Normally for a business, it would take 3 years to get to the point where you really get profit, okay? Not where you're breaking even, trying to survive, but where you really are at a good level. It's 3 years. So give yourselves, guys, if you're a young designer, give yourselves 3 years. And then you will see the fruits of your efforts.
Awesome. So let's get our young people to ask a couple of questions.
Yeah.
And I think that would be interesting. Yeah, because we've touched almost all the points, starting from your journey and what you feel it's going to be important. So
I can
let's
talk
have a
about
couple of
jewelry
questions
forever.
here. Yeah. And I can see your passion, you know, how passionate you are about it. And definitely, okay, so we have...
the global trend during COVID.
Mm.
I think I don't know if they watched from the beginning, we talked a little bit about it. Going back to the fact that more accessible jewelry, new ways of communicating about jewelry and speaking to the clients, finding your points of ways of present and communicate about jewelry. Did the video get frozen at that point?
Yeah. I think there's something, I'm really sorry for that. Anyway, we'll continue because now it's fine. So the question is, what's your favorite vintage style of jewelry?
Good question, you see, because I'm more about contemporary design. But in fact, like, guys, who does like Art Deco? This is, I think, a jewelry style which will conquer hundreds of years in the future. It's just so beautiful, elegant, and I think Art Deco style, you know, it's a style which goes with everything you wear, with all different personalities. For me, this is this is one of the favorite styles.
So we did have a couple of questions and they've really gone up. Now we have we love Indian heritage jewelries, huh? So what's the question, Nisha?
I found this. What type of jewelry do you see will boast now is fine jewelry? Is getting more.
What is your main business where you make money? Oh,
good question. You know, like when you advertise your jewelry in a magazine, you pay for advertisement, right? So for bloggers, it's the same kind of thing. So brands would have to pay, not always, but occasionally if you do a collaboration, for having exposure on my website, on my social media. But you see, if you want to grow your business, it's not enough just to generate income from one source. You see, I don't like to call myself a jewelry blogger because for me, I have lots of different fields of expertise in jewelry business because of retail, okay, many years in retail, because of arranging different events, because of mastering Instagram on my own. I have the power of consulting brands on their social media strategy, on the brand building. I do seminars regularly. So there are other ways, of course, to carry on existing. And I guess if it wasn't for that, maybe COVID would get me down as well. But for now, I'm here to stay.
Yeah. So there's a question saying that, just give a couple of tips for jewelry designers who are starting. And that's a question that's come over. A couple of tips that you want to give.
I think I keep on talking about find your point of difference. Yes. Really be careful with building the chain of like supply and manufacturing. Find the best manufacturer for the most appropriate cost, because sometimes, yes, we want to have a great quality, but I think at this time that's actually another let's call it trend, that brands, they review their manufacturing strategy and they take the manufacturing part elsewhere. And really in India there are quite a few really top-notch manufacturers. So also for young brand, you see what I notice, understand your target audience. Who do you want to sell to? Okay, who that client is. As I said, rather than trying to please everybody, you really need to understand who you're targeting, and that will define the style of jewelry you create, the frequency of collections, how often you launch them, how do you present them on your social media even. Because it's a fashion style jewelry, then your feed on Instagram will look completely different from high jewelry. Say Graph looks completely different from Pomellato, right? Because they target different audience. So get your communication and get your branding right, because honestly branding is like, my name is Katerina Perez and you know who I am. I have a certain style in terms of logo and fonts and how I talk about jewelry for a brand. It's also important because sometimes visual identity, I think, is the key, and it's the first touch point with you and the clients. Who are you and what you're about.
I think you've questioned a lot of these, but there's still people have how to build a brand trust. I think brand itself is a name of trust. I think otherwise you don't make a brand. And yeah.
You see, trust is not something that can be achieved overnight. If you look at which brands are successful, it's those who are there for a long time. When you do quality work, when you prove that you only try to achieve the best, when you're consistent. Consistency is so important in every work. This is when you start building trust. It's the same, even if we talk about Instagram. You see, if you are consistent on your Instagram, if you carry on showcasing certain style, if you're, out there, people will start following you and trusting the brand, and then they'll make inquiries about jewelry that you show, and potentially maybe even buy something. Like when I work with the brand and they want me to promote them, I always assess their Instagram first, because I want to make sure that their Instagram looks yummy, and people who will come and see them from my audience, they will want to, they will understand first of all what the brand is about, and secondly, they would want to follow them and potentially buy something in the end.
So they have a very interesting question. They're asking you, why didn't you start a brand?
I love writing. I am not good at designing, guys. Seriously, what I do as a part of consultancy service, I have taste, okay? This is something I inherited from my parents, because my parents, my mama restores paintings, my father restores antique furniture. So from early age, I was surrounded with all the beauty, and I think this helped me really to develop taste. So what I do as a part of consultancy services, sometimes I team up with a jeweler or a brand, and when they have their collections ready, we just review them together to make sure that they fit the market well, that design elements are interesting, what can be tweaked a little bit to get even more intriguing design, so these kind of things. But if you ask me to design something from scratch, I simply won't enjoy it because, you know, it's not my expertise really to conceive this design and to, I don't know, make a collection.
Interesting. So they're asking now that with the global depression that's there and the recession and the market is really tight, how is jewelry market going to look like for the next year, 2 years? What are the speculations that you have?
I think we talked about it before. It's very, very difficult to say. But yes, it will be tough. Okay, let's not be delusional here. It will be hard, but this is why I called it the survival of the strongest. It's the time when you need to rethink your strategies and cut down some costs. But I think one thing that is wrong is that people, some jewelry brands start cutting their manpower. And eventually, let's face it, 3, 4, 5 months later, maybe 6 months later, when things are back to more or less normal, you will need to have those great people, and you might have lost them forever. It's so hard to find really, you know, great designers, great craftsmen, marketing people, or anyone on your team. So maybe it's a good chance, instead of, you know, letting someone go, to rethink the strategy, maybe pay them less but keep them, you know, because also for them, especially if they worked for you for a while, right, it's kind of heartbreaking.
I think, you know, the questions are almost repetitive because I think it's coming from, you know, one's personal concern, but I think you've addressed almost all the questions, talking about why it's important to follow one's DNA, one's own heart, the belief, be passionate about what one wants to do. It's very important that to travel, to be exposed, develop aesthetics that are truly global in nature, and probably that can make a brand distinct. And I think keeping pace with the market in terms of new learnings, in terms of management, in terms of marketing, in terms of sensibility when it comes to being very consistent, in terms of one's approach, in terms of production to, you know, the marketplace, and be available to people. And I think these are a couple of things which I think that it's all about what I've heard is, again, back to basics. And I think if the basics and the foundation is there, which is strong enough, I think anybody can make a place and can consistently evolve. If the foundation is not strong, I think it becomes difficult to evolve. It's like, you know, it's just coming to my mind. It's like a space that we already have, and you know, you have a strong foundation, you can keep doing the interior spaces, redesign the interior spaces. It seems like the business can also be reinvented provided that the foundation is strong. And I think the foundation is where it comes, is about following your heart, understanding your DNA.
You know, one more thing to emphasize also, which is important for every business, is your team. Okay, because I've learned it hard way. Of course, when I started, I couldn't afford having a team. But if you want to grow and develop, there should be a point of time when you understand, okay, I can't do everything myself. It's important to invest into an extra team member, to give yourself freedom to do even more and even better. What I often face is the designers, they come for consultation and they want to, okay, I'm a designer, I'm a craftsman, and I want to do my Instagram really well. And then it turns out they don't enjoy doing this, and every time they don't know what to post, and it's like a drag. And I'm like, look, why don't you put aside a certain amount of money every month and get someone to help you? You will take this off your shoulders. That person will, you know, you need to find the right person who enjoys it, because it really shows. You just think that it's an uploading picture, but in reality, there is lots of communication which is by instinct or senses which we don't really, which you can put our finger on. But even with my work, I hear often that people can sense the passion I have for jewelry through my text, through the visual communication in terms of, Instagram feed and stories and talking about jewelry. So, all this needs to be taken into consideration. And outsourcing. Yeah, so outsourcing is important.
So when you say outsourcing, what precisely would you mean?
Say you're a jewelry brand, okay, and you want to have a collection which will be very different from everyone else. Hire a designer from a different country, give them a direction which is, different. So they with their unique vision, they can create something which will be outstanding, which will be different, right? Or say that you can manufacture something cheaper elsewhere, do it there. So, find other ways of completing work with the help, which is not necessarily local if possible, right? Or, basically get help, expand your team so that you can have more time to do even better and even more.
Interesting. So do you see prices getting hiked, in terms of the jewelry? I mean, whatever.
I don't think so. I don't think it's the right way to put the prices up, because I think now maybe the opposite. And actually, I would like to stress that regardless COVID, it's not the right tactic if a jeweler wants to discount. Okay, because once you start discounting, there is a difficult way back to full price. So, okay, COVID is hard, but it's not the right strategy to put the prices down a lot.
Lovely. So we have Vishnu here wants to ask the question that how do you find Indian jewelry designers different from others other jewelry designers from across the globe?
Different, well, I guess in the way they see jewelry, because let's face it, in India, jewelry is a part of lifestyle. Okay, so you can be so much more creative in the way the jewelry is worn. Look at all the parures and all the jewels that worn here and on the ear. And there's so much room for creativity, really. Because come on, and go to Paris, you'll never see anyone with an interest in jewels, because it's all about like smaller things and jewels that's probably not even there. When in India, you can really explore all the different ways of wearing jewels. I think one thing is missing. Well, maybe I'm wrong, but I would love to see other ways of jewelry styles. Like we see it on earrings now, solo earrings, ear jackets, ear cuffs, all this. What I will never forget is the brooch which I saw at where Christie's. It was a brooch by René Bovan. If I'm not mistaken, sorry, I'll need to check that. It was a lion, which is a shoulder brooch. I loved it. This is something that really helps you to express your personality. It's a showstopper. If I walk in the street with the shoulder brooch, in a party with a shoulder brooch, all eyes will be on me. I don't have it here. I guess lots of people already know my butterfly. Sometimes I wear this huge titanium butterfly, which is, this is my pet. So shoulder brooch. And what I've seen also, it's from also Art Deco era. It's the twin, let's call twin brooches. They're identical looking ones, which you can clip here, which you can clip on the lapel and on the sleeve, and just new ways of experimenting with the way you wear jewels, because jewelry helps you to stand out, to be different, to express yourself.
Yeah, and it's interesting that, what you wear on your face is first visible. So I think right from the moving our hands, it's coming across to your face, your earrings, your neck piece. I think it all gives you that character. It's just one needs to connect with who one is, and that the jewelry is there for you to give you the enhanced,
sometimes it's funny. Sometimes I think of Russia, okay, in the times of Tsars, when it was a necessity to wear jewelry. And I dream that maybe one day this will come back. In India, you still have this tradition that you have to wear jewelry to party, to weddings, to functions, and how amazing is that? I wish that there was more of this tradition in Europe, because, come on, jewelry is something truly special, which makes you feel great, huh? I think every woman deserves to feel great wearing her diamonds or, you know, gems and big or small jewels, whatever, something that will make you feel $100 million.
And if you look at from the other side, yeah, you know, it's always said that the precious stones, that high level of consciousness they have, and their energy and your energy, when it goes together, it creates a more powerful, you know, consciousness. So I think there's a whole different way of even looking at a piece of jewelry when one can. And now I've heard, you know, there are healers who actually even heal the jewelry, because it comes from a particular age and an era. It does carry the emotion with it, right? So
Exactly.
I've heard these kind of things are going, that people have to cleanse the jewelry because there's an emotion that the jewelry carries of the person who was wearing it.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting that a jewelry has a deep connect with the human self. And I think this value is what needs to be appreciated when we're really talking about jewelry. And I think, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Amazing. What do you think can then wear as jewelry?
Sir, what was... sorry, which one? I've lost. There's so many questions.
Oh, she's saying that, oh my God, I've never heard this. Huh? So yes, it's there going on. So there's anything that you think of is there on the planet. So it's just that we've not heard it. Yeah. So thank you so much, Katerina. And it was amazing to have you over.
Pleasure.
And I think the way you connect with India is also very profound. And I think people are very fond of you here in India. And your fanship is probably, fan following is going to grow more and more.
Oh,
and I
wonderful.
think today we've reached out to almost 15,000 people today, in terms of letting them know that you are here on the thing. So the Insta story is going to be up there. So more and more people will get an opportunity, and we're going to be on YouTube as well, because there's a live recording too going on, and it's going to be
Fantastic.
there. Our chat is going to be there. Yeah. So
No,
thank you so much for being here with us. Yeah. And there's one, yes, before we leave, there's somebody who asked that what kind of courses do you give? And if they are interested in taking up these courses, where can they get access to?
Well, normally I announce on my Instagram, but the one which I'm preparing now, I think I'll make an announcement on Instagram pretty soon.
Okay.
But also just send me direct message, because when it comes to consultation about Instagram strategy, this is something more word of mouth. You know, I don't have time to like make it super public, because I simply won't be able to help everybody. But when I know the designer needs it, or they directly message me or email me, then I can, you know, explain how it works, and of course help them with their strategy, and hopefully, you know, make them stand out on Instagram, and which will bring them sales in the future as well. Because this is
that's really kind of you. That's really kind. I think, you know, we always felt that everything is, you know, it's like a contract kind of a thing. But the way you're saying that, the way you've been very open towards making sure that you're able to support younger people, guide them, I think that's really commendable. And I think it's the time when we have to move from the eco to the ego, from the ego to the eco, and all about the us and the we, and more than the I. And that's where we can probably coexist and make the world a better place. So I just wanted to again tell you know, all the people who are here, that we have a bachelor's in design 4-year degree, as I've just shared. We've just done an agreement with NASCAD in Halifax for an exchange program, and a collaborative program with the Birmingham University as well for a jewelry program. And we have an exchange program going on with Ecole Boule. And for the last 2 years, we've been having students from Paris come over, and our students have been going there. So I think somewhere all these collaborations and partnerships, they're really important in terms of building an ecosystem where global aesthetics could be understood and we could support each other.
For sure.
So, yeah. So thank you, Katerina, for being here.
Thank you for having me. It was a big pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Have a good evening then.
Yeah.